Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another show. My dear brothers and sisters, I am so excited about this show because I have a person that I guess I've been knowing now for 3 or 4 years. When I first found out that I knew him, I didn't know he was a friend of mine, but I have to tell you, the way they went to work on me, he's known all over the world. Mr. Gilad Atzmon. How are you?
I'm so happy to see you again, man.
I'm so happy you obviously you put me on the map. Nobody knew me.
I am not so sure that is the case. Actually, I made an investigation. I noticed something very interesting. I just put it on my website 2 days ago. That the ADL denounced me because I met you.
Is that right?
Yeah, and they denounced you because you met me. So I think that it worked for both of us.
But let me tell you this. Now, you had a following in Israel that really want to see you off the planet. And they referred to me and you. I'm part of Obama's hate group, because I knew him earlier. And so when they began to talk about me, and he said he had the audacity to bring on this Gilad Atzmon. Mm-hmm. And you beat Alan Dershowitz like he stole something, so he's angry with me as well.
Alan Dershowitz should be also angry. He should also be angry with himself. Recently we learned that he's implicated in some nasty sex scandal. So maybe it is shame on him. Maybe that possibility. He's a low life character.
Well, let me say this to you. You are a remarkable guest. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, like you speak the truth to power. I mean, you're the same way in America, in London, wherever you are, France, you travel the world. But what was really interesting to me about you, when you talked about Charlie Parker and the way you grew up in Israel, and you liked him so much, but you were grown when you realized he was black or something.
Yeah, it was quite frustrating. At the time, I wrote about it in The Wandering. At the time, I was still an Israeli Jew, and I was quite shocked because they told us that everything good comes from the Jews. And then I saw that Parker was black, and Dizzy was black, and Coltrane was black. And my first instinct, obviously, I thought that they were black Jews, but they weren't.
Yeah, we just had a black Jew leave here a few minutes ago. Yeah. But let me say, I want the people to listen to your story because you really have gifts. And the last time you were here too, I think you played a little of your music. Are you going to play anything for me today?
We can. I'm playing after.
Yeah, maybe we're doing one of the breaks just a little to let the people know that you really can play, and you're good at this. And I listen to your music, and I see you have another CD, The Whistleblower.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't really. I guess you invited most people. You sell a book or two here, but they want to engage you in conversation. Why are you so in demand around the world, or if they claim
I think that there is a general fatigue of all forms of Jewish politics, not just Israel and Zionism. Mm-hmm. I am now actually working intensively on a Jewish left. Mm-hmm. Since now 4 or 5 years, and I show that there is a clear continuum between the hardcore Zionists and the ADL and Jewish organizations that pretend to be our biggest allies.
Right.
What I realized that, and this applies to the civil rights movements and to the Palestinians and to the Spanish Civil War. Those Jewish progressive organizations, Jewish liberals, Jewish leftists, who seem to take very beautiful causes, and by the way, I'm sure that some of them are genuine.
Right.
Institutionally, they actually instrumentalize other people to serve their own Jewish interests. And what I'm doing now in America, I actually elaborate on each of the notions that were introduced to the Palestinian Solidarity movement by the Jewish liberals and show that rather than helping the Palestinians, they actually there to serve the Jews. For instance, end of the occupation. End of the occupation actually legitimizes Israel on the expense of millions of Palestinian refugees. So it sounds great, but in practice, it is a very problematic term. Colonialism. A lot of people like to see Israel as colonialism. Israel is not colonialism. It has never been. Zionism has never been colonialism. Colonialism is pretty simple exchange between a mother state and a settler state. Israel is a settler state.
Okay.
There is no mother state. Why the Jews want us to see Israel as colonialism, the left Jews? Because then it means that Zionism or the Jewish nationalist project is not uniquely sinister. It's actually as bad as Britain, as Dutch colonialism, Spanish, Italian, German, French, and so on. Just 100 years later. No. Israel is not colonialism. Whether it is uniquely bad or not is a different question, but it is definitely unique. Yeah? To come to a place after 2,000 years, allegedly, because it's not clear that they were there 2,000 years ago, to come to a place after 2,000 years and to tell the indigenous people, you have to move, we've been there before, it is slightly unusual. And nobody has ever done it. And they got away with it.
You know, let me say that, you know, don't they give you enough headaches, though? Or do you enjoy sparring? Why? I mean, have it like Irv Cufflin had said about that Blackman character. He said, well, why do you have to stir this up? I mean, the Jewish people are delightful people. They're having some of the best years of their life. Why you want to...
I guess that the polite answer is that I'm a curious human being. I find it very interesting.
Okay.
It's fascinating for me. It is fascinating for me that such a small
group,
tribe manages to steer so much mess, to manipulate the entire Western society. It is fascinating. It is fascinating. Now, and this is the core of the issue, I, in recent years, managed to define Jewish power. You know, a lot of people speak about Jewish power, but nobody dares attempt to grasp what it means. Jewish power is a very unique power to stop you talking about Jewish power.
You know, you mentioned it, and I have a book on Jewish power that I forget the author's name, and he takes a total different view. But you said it the last time you were here. You inferred. I mean, you didn't go.
And I argue that Jewish power is not mobilized or sustained or maintained by the ADL, Dershowitz, by Netanyahu, Wolfowitz. No. Jewish power is actually sustained by the Jewish left, by Democracy Now, by Jewish Voice for Peace. All those organizations. Now, at the moment, the only people who try to stop me talking in America are Jewish Voice for Peace. It's amazing. 10 years ago, we had ADL doing trying to police Americans. Freedom to think.
That's right.
Now it is JVP.
The ADL did kind of subside. I didn't even know they still exist.
The ADL, you know, they can take a holiday. because now
Yeah.
some pro-Palestinians are allegedly are doing the job for them. It's great. It's beautiful.
You know, and you could say you've been in the forefront of this, and I have to tell you, it's really a stimulating conversation. I look forward to it whenever I see you, because you elevate the conversation, and no one is talking about it. And as you say, there's a small group that's been able to garner a large amount of support. When Netanyahu came here and treated the president like he was a child, that was really something.
It is quite embarrassing. And then the ability to save your country. This is your country. It's not my country. I love this country, but it's down to you to save it. You know, I love Palestine, but it's not down to me to save Palestinians. It's down to the Palestinians. This is patriotism. You know, not to understand that the way Netanyahu with Dershowitz and, you know, the other Elie Wiesel kind of took your congressman for a ride is, for me, bordering treason on the part of your American top echelon of politicians. And I think that a lot of people see it, and it is very dangerous, not just for America, but especially for the Jews. And why? Because America and the Christian world takes pride in being tolerant.
Tolerant.
You know, it's like you don't react. But at a certain stage, there is an accumulation, and then pretty much out of the blue, some people say, enough is enough. And this is exactly the reason that we see so many Jewish colossal tragedies. Apparently, within Jewish culture, we don't find the means of Jews restraining themselves collectively. Instead, those who were supposed to be most critical of the Jews, the Jewish liberals, are actually operating as policing the criticism of the Jews. It is a tragedy.
You know, I want to work with you in this sense, but I like listening to you, and I know there are some people say, well, you bring this guy on, you don't challenge him, you don't, but you know, you make, no, but seriously, you make so much sense, because when you first stated that the objective is to keep you from even talking about it or thinking about it.
Let me be honest with you. I would have loved to be challenged. The Wandering Who came in 2011.
Right.
It was endorsed by the most spectacular list of major intellectuals, humanists, prime thinkers. Some people, quite a few, didn't like what I said there, what I wrote there, but not a single person actually tried to challenge it. Nobody said
even on your videotape. When you was at some place, they ended up saying nice things about you. They were trying to criticize you.
Yeah, but this is the thing that nobody says. In page 23, you said X, and actually it's Y. In page 54, you develop an argument that is completely flawed. No, nobody is yet. By the way, I found a few mistakes in the book, but you know,
but you didn't tell them yourself.
But and I challenged me, but not in front of a camera.
but what about this? Now, when you were very young, when you challenged the military, that you were see, I don't think people really get it. It's not that you never been a Jew, like you said, when you used to be.
I tell you something that, you know, 4 days ago, a week ago, I been in New York in a beautiful theater in Theater 80 with one of the most clever people on this planet, and he's a rabbi, and he's an Orthodox rabbi. We had an incredibly sophisticated discussion on Judaism. The title of the discussion was From Judaism versus Tribalism. Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro, whom I met that night on stage, argued, I'm a Jew. My belief is consistent with what Judaism has been for hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, and my identity was plundered. My job that evening was to explain this process. What is Jewish identity? Judaism was transformed for many people from being a precept, a religion, into a form of identity, or a manifold set of identities. It became a tribal and a racist perception. By the way, the Jewish liberals who operate as Jews, because not all people who are Jews operate politically as Jews. All people who operate politically as Jews are engaged in one kind or another of racist attitude. And the reason is very simple. As much as you may support, for instance, some Jewish liberal takes on Palestine, you can never become a board member of Jews' Voice for Peace or the Jewish International Collective for Peace or Coalition for Peace or whatever, because you are not racially qualified.
Yeah.
The situation is so bizarre that in Israel now, in racist Israel, the third biggest party is an Arab party. Yeah? The third biggest party is an Arab party. Christians, Muslims, and so on. While in the Jewish anti-Zionists who call themselves progressives, you don't have a single Goy, a single Gentile, let alone a Palestinian Arab, in the board, in the board or the secretary or on their board. So the truth of the matter is that racist Israel is, embarrassingly enough, way more tolerant and progressive than the so-called progressive Jews.
Let me get to a couple of things, because as I say, I just give you the floor and you have a lot to talk about. But quietly now, just a few weeks ago, this extreme behavior on behalf of the Congress here about not supporting the president with Iran, this treaty. But I find that the Senate voted overwhelmingly for it. I don't know what the Congress, the rest of the House, but I'm confused. I see where let me just say, Saudi Arabia even snubbed the president because they want to make sure they're clear that the inevitable war with Iran and Saudi Arabia, that America is on their side.
Sure.
But I thought Israel was instigating the war. Are they subtly behind it? What's your take on it?
I think that in order to look into this specific incident, we have to understand a bit of to understand the region and global politics. ISIS, Daesh, or IS, whatever, I don't know how it, it's good enough because I can
But I thought Israel was the one that started it.
Very possible. I'm fully aware of all the studies of, and this is very common, but we shouldn't get too excited about it, because those organizations and institutions in the region have their own dynamics. Israel was definitely involved in founding the Hamas, and it took a short while to understand that these are grassroots organizations. They raise their own leadership, their own elite, and people who are actually devoted to the Islamic cause, which is very interesting. However, clearly ISIS is something that is new to the world. They put into play tactics and strategies that make it very difficult to any conventional military force to deal with. We became more and more sophisticated, operating drones, but this is not the way to fight ISIS, because ISIS is spirit. ISIS doesn't progress as a military force. When ISIS is ready to take a country, the country is basically already taken.
And
You know,
yeah.
so this is
So it's already been broke.
this is something that is completely new. It's a spirit. It's a spirit, and it spreads rapidly all over the region, and not in a continual manner. You know, so you have we know about Iraq and Syria, and then we see cells in Turkey and in France, and then you find out suddenly that half of Libya is dominated with ISIS, and patches in Sinai Desert. America, or let's say American administration and the Pentagon, realized at a certain stage that the only solid and a potential ally in the Middle East is Iran, or let's extend it and talk about the Shias. The issue is that this is very devastating for Israel. This is very devastating for the Gulf countries, who are actually Sunnis on the one end. On the other end, they are threatened by ISIS themselves, because ISIS will take the Gulf countries. I don't know, by the time it takes the Gulf countries, it may not be ISIS.
Yeah.
And I don't have any doubt
that
if America see the needs, it will negotiate petrol prices with ISIS or whatever it becomes. And now and then, a bunch of American congressmen, totally impervious for American global and military and security interests, is going with Israel against the American people. This is not good for America, but this is also very, very dangerous for the Jews.
And someone said that. That was a very powerful person said this in America. I mean, he was in business. The name eludes me, but he spoke out. And he was saying that the way Netanyahu handled Obama and with this Iranian thing was very dangerous, with the Congress doing what they have done.
Yeah, quite a few people actually commented on it.
That's what I'm saying. They're waking up. But this is my point. But CNN, they always want to talk. Why don't they invite you?
I guess that to start with, I'm not too worried about it.
I know you're not worried.
I'm not too worried about it because...
But you've been on a lot of shows.
I prefer, I really think about it sometime. I would prefer to talk to you.
Yeah,
No, I tell you why. I tell you why. Because I'm not a politician. I'm a musician. I'm a philosopher. I don't want to become, and a lot of people want me to become, a playmaker.
Okay, so someone has suggested that, but then you would be doing it for, they would say vanity and all, but no, see, here's what I've learned from you. You know, vanity has its place, and everybody has an ego. But see, what I'm trying to say, when you give yourself the title of a humanist, I can go for that because you've shown certain sacrifices that would be considered sacrifices. Being Jewish has had its advantages.
I'm not anymore. I lost it.
Yeah, I understand. But I'm saying there are some people say, well, why don't you play? We make you famous, but we make you a big star. You know, and just leave us alone like this. Don't destroy your house, that we built for you, a glorious future. No Jew is to go to bed hungry. Why are you upsetting the the playing field. You're exposing things that don't need to be talked about.
This is why I do it, but I really hope, this is very important, that instead of talking to the nation, I'll find enough people who are willing to listen and to take the necessary steps or necessary measures. For instance, I didn't expect to receive so much support from Jewish Orthodoxy. For so many years, these idiotic Jewish leftists who don't even know what Judaism is, like a person really limited ability, like Max Blumenthal and so on, call me, speak about me attacking Judaism, which is a complete lie. I actually argue the Jewish secularism is the problem. It's unbelievable. Anyway, and then pretty much out of the blue, the Jewish Orthodoxy see an ally in me. Now, I'm not operating politically. I'm operating intellectually. So I'm happy to talk to a rabbi. I'm not an activist. And we will develop this line of thought to explain to people what is going on. I'm happy to operate in a very modest approach, to talk to 40, 50, sometimes 70, sometimes 300 people a night. I don't want to start to move nations. I'm very afraid. I'm afraid of it.
All right, well, let me just say this. I noticed that when I've had you on, there are people who really are beginning to gravitate toward what you're saying.
For sure.
I mean, it's thought-provoking.
For sure.
And, of course, if people are trying to conceal it, then they don't want you talking.
For sure.
And by appearing on my show, I certainly appreciate it, but you have to understand, my show does play in New York as well.
For sure.
And it plays worldwide when we put it on this.
I know.
Well, so I'm saying that to say this. Those people who pretend that they don't watch the show, they do. If it's something that really hits home to them, and because I received a kind of a mail to know that, or what they say on social media. But here's the point. When you know that you're elevating the conversation as you are, and as I told you, you're not the only one, but I saw someone talking about the Congress and how dangerous it was, but they later shut him down. He had to apologize to a rabbi, or one who was portraying himself as a rabbi, for making the statements that he made. As if, are you condemning Israel? Or you could, just challenge him. See, they won't do that with you, because I've seen you handle even Alan Dershowitz, who I thought was a pretty good attorney. And I have to tell you, I used to think he was smart, but he was making noise.
No, because it's not easy at all to debate my argument. And you know why? I'm primarily a philosopher. And it's very crucial for
break it down.
I'm an essentialist. I'm talking. What philosophers do? They ask life to be alive. What is the meaning? What is the essence? What makes life so different than death? What is the meaning of knowing? And I posed the question. I said, what is the meaning of being a Jew? Now, my answers, because I'm a philosopher, I'm not an historian. I don't talk about in 1934 something dramatic happened. I don't talk about historical facts. I don't talk about natural science. The facts in my work are you and me and everybody else. Why? I use reason. I take a concept, I elaborate on it. You can accept it, or you can drop it. The problem that my detractors have is that they themselves know very well that I'm 100% right. And a lot of people said, you know, why Jews are so angry. Every Jew knows that what Gilad's saying, you know, David Rovix, you know, is a great musician. It's just up and said, yeah, I'm a Jew. Every Jew knows that what Gilad is saying is right. Our job as Jews is to conceal.
Yeah, yeah. But
I'm talking about this is just one more sentence. It's
please.
important.
Man,
You know, one of the issue, and this, it's not about Jews or Palestinian or American Africans. We all feel shame of something. You and your brothers, you drive in Chicago. I drove on the way here, and it makes me angry. And sometimes, sure that sometimes you drive and you see the poverty and you feel shame. I will let it happen.
and let me say this, and you're absolutely right. But even the mayor of the city of Chicago, quietly in his quiet moments, want to know, how do we allow ourselves to be caught up in this? That's what I meant by no Jew would see another Jew go to bed hungry. And let me say, you dissected our community the last time you were here. You came on the train and you felt sorry for us.
It was awful. It was awful, but it makes me very angry.
Yeah, and it makes me angry too. But you know what I like about this conversation? You can't fix what you don't see broken. You know what I mean?
You're right.
And sometimes, subtly, it go over one's head. I delight in this lively art of conversation with you because I see clearly what you're saying in many instances, but I don't want you to think that all of us are that naive that we don't see.
Not at all, not at all.
But there's a fear factor. You know, and I embarked on a subject the other night: hypocrites, disbelievers, obedience. You know, you need not fear for the future.
Yeah.
Fear is the number one problem.
Yeah.
Now, as you expose this, people, and sometimes it takes people longer to get going. Like I said, I've decided, I've watched some of your conversation. I mean, just a nice, friendly conversation. You start off, but you jabbing on things that people don't want known. And even some of those in the audience with you, young students and different people, they end up siding with you if they are permitted to do that.
For sure. And the reason why I mentioned the neighborhood, this neighborhood, what is going around us,
Yeah, go ahead,
because we, as human beings, Jews, Muslims, Americans, Israelis, Brits, we are very, very good in concealing our shame. We suppress it, and I believe that the job of the task of the real intellectual is to unveil the concealment, to unveil the shame. Maybe I'm entering a very dangerous territory here on this TV. Maybe you'll never,
I don't mind.
When I started to look at the difference between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, I think that Malcolm X, had this ability to look in the mirror and say, we have to do that. We have to take responsibility.
Now, Malcolm X had a teacher that you didn't know. And I'm sitting up here in defense of him now. See, the thing is, let me say this, and this is what's beautiful.
I know.
Yeah, and you know the history, but I'm glad you bring that up. And you see the difference with Dr. King because, the turn the other cheek and that kind of thing, that Dr. King was peaceful. Well, it come from Gandhi or somebody.
Yeah.
All of us don't delight in that. But even to this day, they allow us to talk about Dr. King and what he did. They didn't pay that any attention. Long as you're not, challenging our power, okay, we'll let you sit at the lunch counter now.
Yeah, for sure.
You can vote. And even if you do vote, so what?
And this is the issue. Now, what I am doing when it comes to Israel and Jewish identity, I unveiled the secret. The heavy tribalism that drives actually the the Jewish left, and I actually argue now the Jewish left is definitely not the solution, it's actually the core of the problem, because Netanyahu comes to America and he celebrates his supremacy.
Didn't he do it?
He celebrated, but it would be the Jewish left that would stop the media from saying it loudly.
That's right.
Okay? So this, I identify now the enemy within. It's very, and I hope that they listen to me and they wake up and they realize their responsibility. And democracy now becoming real democracy now, because at the moment it looks to me like democracy later.
Go ahead. Well, the National Endowment on Democracy, they export this artificial democracy. But see, you are exposing the hidden secrets. This is true. And I can identify with your conversation, and it's bold of you, but you've grabbed a few soldiers with you. You're not the same lonely person that you started off with.
I can tell you that if I decide tomorrow, and a lot of people push me in this direction, to become a movement,
then
it will be big.
I believe so.
And I really beg people to hold their horses, you know. I really don't want to do it. I really hope that just with the power of my pen and my mouth, I can deliver a message that would make people think. Now I tell you something, it's quite interesting for me. At the moment, as I said before, ADL used to police our thought.
Right.
At the moment, I invited Jewish Voice for Peace, Mondo Wise. I wrote to each editor. I told them, listen, I understand that you don't like me, but I'm engaged here with a rabbi. You are Jewish organizations. I'm engaged in a discussion with a rabbi. You must tell your people to come to understand what they are involved with, or at least send a reporter that can deliver a message to your people so you understand the parameters of the discussion, because you are in a state of denial. Nobody answered. As far as I'm aware, they didn't send a reporter because the event was reported. You do know who reported on the event? The ADL. ADL, and they were 100%, a genuine report. They told me some names, which they have to do, just that they have to get the kosher check, Okay, fine. But they described my philosophy, in a very accurate manner.
Showing if they want to, they can
and this proved to me that
they know
that still Zionism is way more successful and intellectually tolerant than the so-called anti, and this explains why Zionism is such a successful setting.
I don't know if you noticed, I've interviewed now 5-6 times. We've even Skyped, maybe a few more. But in London, one of the last times, because you weren't in London when I was there
in New
before,
York.
but that interview I did with you in London, you really gave a lot of revelations about deep thought people up in the high echelon that we would even know their names, that have an awful lot of influence.
For sure.
And I'm just wondering, with what you are going through, and you have a family, it seems that, you're making headways, but you're making enemies that you can't see. But you seem to be able to investigate all these hidden hands. Who's helping you with this, or do they have been silenced for so long, but now they can't hide anymore? You getting under their skin, you're pouring hot sauce on their wounds, and they gotta show their faces just momentarily, even if they go back and hide.
There was time that I used to be subject to a lot of harassment and threat. I used to start my car in the morning like that. And if there was a blast, I obviously didn't hear it.
Yeah.
But I tell you something, when you look at the situation in Gaza,
Yeah.
in Sabra and Shatila,
Yeah.
and in Yarmouk now in Syria, the amount of people who suffer from malnutrition in Africa, you know, there is a lot of suffering. And if this is what I'm doing, and to a certain extent maybe I sacrifice part of my artistic career, not because I still play well, I think, because you know I guess that in some places in the world, you know, they are scared of me. I better do it. I better do it. I don't take a penny from any organization. I was offered many times to be part of a bigger thing. I hate, and this is the reason that I don't want to be a movement. If just one more person joins me, one, I have to start to take into consideration his or her sensitivities. I'm not a free thinker. I betray myself. I stop being a jazz artist and a jazz thinker. When I play jazz, I play what I don't even think. I let it happen. And this is the way I want my intellectual career to develop.
Let me just say this, because there are people who watch the show and say, okay, Munir, I've seen you and this guy, you talk. But what are you doing? Are you interviewing him? What do you want to know about him to help us to know him? You know, so you go into these arenas, you speak, you may play a little music and things. And when I sit you down and talking to you, because I like to hear you tell your story, because there are few people who really talk it in depth the way that you do, and sometimes it goes over people's head. You don't want it to go.
I don't go over people's head.
I
know, but the problem that I have,
may not be
I go between the eyes.
Okay.
I tried even today on the way from Madison. I had Wi-Fi, and there is now a debate between Chomsky and this idiotic.
Yeah, you named it. He's the rich guy.
Aris. Is it Sam Harris? I don't. And I listened to Chomsky, and it is so boring and intellectually really infantile.
Yeah.
You know, it's like really, really embarrassing. And I think, what is it? What is it?
How do they get away with
how can anyone, this is really, it's not going, it's like, and by the way, I never managed to listen to Chomsky without falling asleep, which means that there is something positive about his intellectual career, and I am very different.
Let me ask you this, because time is going to run out, no matter how much.
We have to talk about my new book.
We got to talk about the book, but let me ask you this. I see they got George
Galloway. Yeah.
And they were relentless. And then they were talking about investigating. For those people who don't know, George is no longer in Parliament.
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
I was in the...
but you saw that coming, didn't you?
I'm not so sure, and I'm not too worried about George Galloway.
You think he'll survive?
George, if he wants to become a sir, he will be survive.
Yeah.
He is the ultimate survivor. He can reinvent himself 24 times a day, and it's a major talent. He's the best speaker we have in these issues to do with dissent. We don't agree on many issues, which is not a problem for me.
But he still admired. See, I love the guy who has the ability to give you credit for what you do. He thinks that you're a brilliant musician. He thinks you're brilliant, period.
Yeah, but he loved the book. He spoke so highly about the book, and even if he would find some issues with, I don't have a problem with people
but
not agreeing with
I'm
me.
asking you this. Even though I say CNN, don't bring your own, because CNN is here in America and they call themselves worldwide. I don't see you too much on, but I see you on other talk shows. Even the BBC, I've seen you with some of them, haven't I?
Yeah, yeah,
So, I
I'm doing it, but it is, I enjoy talking to you.
yeah, I
enjoy talking to you, but I don't enjoy when I have to talk, when I do some, I'm engaged with BBC, you know, and I see the the zigzagging that they, you know, that they, these pirouettes, avionic, really, aeronautic, you know, just not to hurt, you know, Jewish sensitivities. It is very painful for me to watch. I don't want to be part of it.
All right, let me say this. Even though I'm going to always find you wherever you are, we're going to continue to talk. Let's talk about this book.
Yeah.
Now, the Wandering Who, I thought was interesting the way you wrote that. But these are not the only books that you've written. But this,
I will publish this year, in the next 18 months, 2 sequels for The Wandering Who. Don't worry, I'm not becoming an entertainer. But this book is actually more clever than you think.
No, I read it, but so tell me what you want us to see from it. I see a kind of you got a little comedian in you, a little.
I'm slightly funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a funny element.
But you know, all of us who think we have something to say. Now, let me see. Can you get a shot of this? I should have. This is your partner.
Yeah. He's older than you.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay, I'm sure that he has that. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
okay, let me explain it to you. It's very important.
Oh, okay, let's get the front of it too, and we'll freeze it all, and we'll talk more about this. You got a horn, and you always got the musician there. And let me show you one other. I like this rabbi, the way I got it, this picture, and then I want you to explain it. In fact, this a younger you?
Yeah.
You look like
with
Gaddafi.
A bit of a Photoshop.
You look like Gaddafi. You did, okay. Go on.
All right. So basically, what it is.
Yeah, pick it up.
I tell you what it is.
Read it.
How these lobbies manipulate and dominate your life, the way you think.
Mm-hmm.
They dominate your language through political correctness.
Isn't that something?
That's, you know, we are talking about 13 million Jews. Oh, it's beautiful. 13 million Jews worldwide.
You got 30 million?
13, they say 13. By the way, I don't want to talk about it, but there are now some new statistics, because they identify with the Jews, it's now becoming an identity.
Yeah.
Some statistics suggest that we are dealing now with 50 to 60 million, that in the last 10 years, they multiplied as people by 400%. It's amazing. But anyway, I don't want. Let's give them, you know, a glimpse of a doubt. You know, in order to understand how they do it to you, to me, to the rest of us, we have to understand their spiel, their game with words. This is why political correctness is so important for them. Mm-hmm. Political correctness is dominating how you think. Political correctness is politics that doesn't allow political opposition.
Right.
This is dictatorship. But in the case of political correctness, it's self-suppression.
Teach.
So I want to give people, and everything that is said in this book is 99% truth, 99% truth, and 1% complete lie. All right? Now, like anti-Semites.
Okay.
Anti-Semites are brutally honest people, often of Jewish origin. This is 100% truth. Arabs, this is the way they see in their vision, in the Israeli or the Zionist vision. Arabs, a particularly unpleasant species of goyim, were invented to push us into the sea. Arab Spring, you see, you can see there is a spring.
This is where they get you.
Yeah, Arab Spring. All right. Oh, sorry, man. Arab Spring.
Don't take my camera, man.
Arab Spring. A lot of Arab. Sorry, man. A lot of Arab killing each other. It saves us the trouble, and it goes on and on and on and on, and it gives, you know, a really clear understanding. Canaan. You know what is Canaan?
Canaan.
Canaan is the land of milking money.
Okay.
Milking money instead of,
I was thinking about the
Yeah.
laws or something. Go ahead.
Anyway, so this...
But don't leave that. I want you to take one paragraph. You got time. Read it and give me the satire and the whole meaning. Come on, don't rush.
This book...
Make your book exciting.
This book is actually built as a proper lexicon. I went A, B, C, and I tried to produce a one-sentence definition of every Jewish term or term that is interesting enough for the Jews to redefine. And this is how we can see the difference, the clear dichotomy between how the rest of us see the world and how the Israelis see the world. Christian Zionists, for instance. Nobody really understands what Christian Zionists. I like to do things in one sentence. Christian Zionists are goyim who kill Muslims for Israel in the name of Jesus. True or not?
Yeah.
Bill Clinton.
Yeah, Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton.
What about it?
He has shitty taste in women.
Does he? Okay.
Apparently, yeah.
Oh, that's one who boasts about who used to be the Secretary of State, but it seemed like Secretary of War.
Dershowitz, Alan Dershowitz,
Yeah.
is the Chomsky of the Zionists.
Okay.
But though Chomsky is yet to be implicated in sex scandal involving minors, I really don't think that.
Let me hold you there for a moment, because let's go back to Alan Dershowitz. And he did come out and try to artificially defend himself very briefly. And then that went away.
Yeah.
Bill Cosby, they stayed on Bill Cosby every day, every hour.
Interesting, huh? So I'll ask you the same question. What is your answer?
Well, he has the ability to shut it down. His colleagues in the media decided, okay, we're through with that. What is the guy who had to resign, who was the French money maker? But they found out.
Let me. It's a very good question.
Okay.
If let's say that I'm working for Alan Dershowitz.
Okay.
And I speak with the administration and with the media, which is largely dominated by Alan Dershowitz's. And I tell them, you realize that if we really push this story, and Jeffrey Epstein, who was he wasn't exactly a new immigrant from Nigeria,
Right.
or Muslim from Afghanistan, if we push, cover the story too much, there will be a disaster for the Jews. Oh my God.
Oh.
But if we expose a black man, what could happen? What could happen? So another black guy will be frustrated and will be shot by a policeman. What is? It's not a problem. This is the reality of America, and this is why we have a problem. And this is why I insist that there is no difference between Gaza and Baltimore. We are all Palestinians. Or if you want, you can turn it the other way around. Mm-hmm. We are all African Americans. America, Brazil, all those countries that employ these horrible policing tactics by these strategies from Israel. This is the third Israeli most popular export product, military and policing, and we want to call a spade a spade. Truth.
It's true.
It's beautiful.
Let me say,
truth supposed to set us free.
It's unfortunate that the show is only an hour.
I
hate that. And remember, we don't get a chance to do commercial breaks, so I'm the sponsor of this.
Yeah.
Because I want you to know how important it is for me to hear you and my audience to
Man,
hear you. And and I mean that. And I have to say to people, well, I was promised friendship in all walks of life, and I can't imagine people stopping us from being friends. A man that speaks the truth the way that you do, and you do it without fear, and that's great.
I
You know,
don't
Muhammad
remember,
Ali.
I don't remember. Do you feel fear? Because you are a strong person.
I don't feel fear because Muhammad Ali said this once. He was in London, and they was telling him about, racist this, racist that. He was saying, the way that we're treated, if there were just a few Caucasian people, so to speak, that spoke out about the truth as they knew it, a lot of this would be over. So I feel you when you say speaking to 100 here, 200, 300, 400, being strong enough to stand up and say what you say. And I could see you really taking on that title as a humanist because you function that way.
I appreciate you saying it, and I tell you something that I realized recently. The Wandering Goo,
How much you want for these books? Now we got to sell your book too. I mean, even though you don't want no money, but give it to the charity. I mean, so how much is this great book, The Wandering Goo?
I don't know, $8.99. No, I don't know. Talk pound. $14, and this is $15.
$15. But you should get. How can they get your book?
It is now on Amazon. It is now on Amazon, but there is a better way to buy it because on Amazon we are losing money. To buy it through my website, you will be directed to the shop. My website is gilad.co.uk. gilad.co.uk. Go there. I put the Aid to Zion on the menu. You click. If you are in America, they tell you where to buy it. You can get it on Amazon, but we have to set the price there right. It's a disaster.
Yeah, but because that money, your sterling, our money don't mean nothing. And
I know.
In my hotel, man, I'm thinking that I'm paying one thing and I'm paying another. You all got to be a little bit more careful.
Exactly. We have to get dollar all over the world.
That's right.
Just dollars. You know what? The thing is that you raised. There is something that I understood recently. The Wandering Goo is going to be stuck with them forever. It's like Anna Frank. We have Anna Frank and The Wandering Goo and a few other texts.
Yeah.
They can take me. They can do whatever they want with me.
But it's out there.
It's out there. This is my approach. I don't keep anything inside. Truth will set you free.
Your father still loves you.
Yeah, a lot. You know, I want to tell you, I want to give one credit.
Please.
I want to give one credit to Zionism.
Yeah, your father.
My father and my forefathers. The way I behave is actually consistent with the early Zionist school of thought.
I like the way they said in that documentary about you. I mean, can you push the documentary? Where can they get the documentary?
The documentary, I think, is on Amazon. It costs something like $1.50 to
everybody should check that out. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's called Gilad and All That Jazz.
I feel like I know your father.
Yeah.
Okay, my dear brothers and sisters, I want to thank Gilad Atzmon. I really appreciate him coming in. Whenever he's in the country, he always stop by, and I like that a lot. Where you going to do now? Going home?
No, not yet. I go tomorrow in Madison, tomorrow in Portland.
You going back on the West Coast?
Yes, Seattle.
I got to go.
Houston.
Thank you for watching, and may Allah bless you with the light of understanding as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.